Right, so fingers crossed that all should be working, and we're live on All for United tonight. We've got Andrew Wall, Stu, and John Kay on today. It's going to be a bit of a different show today because there's no Barry. So we're going to do the best we can. We're basically just going to talk whatever comes up. I've asked each of the panel to have a question, maybe a bit later on, maybe not straight away. So, I mean, we'll start with Mason Mount, obviously, because I think that's the biggest news of the week in terms of signing. We can't grumble about that at all. Basically, I just wanted to discuss where you think the ambition is of the club with a signing like this, and what's your opinion on the club's ambition with a signing like this. Do you think it's one for the future? Do you think he can make a difference straight away? Just that sort of general thing, really. We'll start with Andrew. What do you think? Do you think this is a glory signing? Do you think it's a future signing? Do you think it's just a signing we needed to make?
I think it was just a signing probably we needed to make, and I think from Ten Hag's point of view, I think it's one he was adamant about. I think midfield's a key area, a bit of concern last season as well. I mean, during last season there was like the lack of depth, even after Christmas, when Eriksen and Casemiro were both absent as well, and Bruno was playing every game, like maybe far too many minutes, and maybe Ten Hag not trusting the other options he had for the midfield. So in terms of Mount, well, definitely finally got the deal over the line, because it kept seeming to be like going back and forth. I thought, is this going to drag all over the summer like Sancho did a few years ago? But look, us and Chelsea sat around the table and said, let's get this deal done. Like I say, for like United, it's like we're not being pushed around now, because every time we go into for a play, it's almost like clubs go, let's add a United tax onto everything and we'll bump it up. Well, we're saying no now. We're saying this is the price we want to pay. We're going to meet somewhere in the middle. If not, we'll walk away now. So, but in terms of Matt, I think he's likely to take directly Eriksen's place in the starting 11, and Fernandes, which he did to a point last season, started playing more a deeper role, which will give Mount more license to go further forward. So I'm just thinking in terms of the midfield next season, it could be Casemiro, Mount, and Fernandes, which is likely to be the midfield there lining up against Wolves. But I think a key area that Ten Hag values of Mount is his versatility as well. So, as attacking midfield, but also he can play. He'll have that option of rotation with him and Eriksen as well. So Eriksen can't play as many minutes as he used to as well. So, but I think his quality makes him the perfect fit for United at the minute. So I think it was definitely a signing we probably needed.
So, Stu, what about you? Do you think that this is an ambitious signing from the club, or do you think it's more a safe signing, to be honest? A signing we know should hit the ground running in the Premier League. He knows the Premier League. Ten Hag wanted him.
Yeah, look, I'm a bit underwhelmed by it. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm right, obviously. Chelsea fans are spitting feathers over it. They're massively disappointed he's left. Whether you see it on social media or listen to it on Talk Shite, they're all really disappointed he's left. But for me, I don't know. I suppose it says where we are at the moment as a club. I can see Ten Hag's thinking behind it for sure, and I think Andrew's right. There'll be a certain amount of games that Eriksen will play. There'll be a certain amount of games that Mount will play. He's obviously an attacking midfielder. And would he complement Casemiro? Yeah, I kind of guess he would. But most players would complement Casemiro. But is he that signing that's? I always have a very easy thing when I go shopping for things that I like. If it jumps off the shelf at me, it's an instant buy. If I've got to think about it, I can't be asked. And Mount's that kind of thing with me. It doesn't jump off the shelf to me. It's a kind of, I've got to think about it, so I can't really be bothered. And I think that's where I'm at with it. He could come in and prove me completely wrong. He's likely to come in and like you say, he understands Premier League football, so he's likely to come in and hit the ground running. But as John pointed out, I think it was last week, Mason Mount cost Chelsea fuck all, so he's pure profit to them, and that's their thing. It's a profit thing for them. It's a business decision to remove him. I'm guessing rather than a sporting decision, and we're just a club that's decided to give Chelsea 55 million quid and 5 million on add-ons. He's a 40 million quid player for me, really, if I'm being honest. And so for me, yeah, a tad underwhelmed, but we shall see. I'd like him to prove me wrong. I'm sure he probably will do. I'm sure he'll have a good season. But he's a weak signing, I think, compared to what we actually do need. He's an off the shelf kind of middle of the road player rather than something we need that's really going to excite. But as I say, we haven't seen him play. He'll want to prove himself for sure. So he'll want to come in and have a really good first part of the season. And it's the first part of the season that determines really where you're going to be in the final shake-up. So if we have a good start to the season, and potentially it could be a good signing. But he's middle of the road for me.
Connor's chiming in with we overpaid, I believe, but he backs his judgment. So we'll move on to John's opinion shortly. I got absolutely tanned on Twitter this week, by the way, for saying exactly what you've just said there, Stu, which was that we overpaid, but at least Ten Hag got his man sort that he wanted. And it wasn't a criticism of Mount or even Ten Hag. It was more of the club in the current state. We very much miss out on opportunities, then overpay in the future. I mean, I'm glad they sorted it, and from the sound of it, the 5 million in add-ons is very much Anthony Martial territory, where I don't think they're ever going to get hit. And if they do get hit, we're going to be having some glory times as fans. So that's an interesting one. So just to add on, John, we'll come to you with the same question. And just to add on, what sort of role do you think Mount will be playing? And how do you think it'll affect the existing players in the team?
I think he's a good signing. I think he certainly has depth to the team, which is what we certainly need. I wouldn't say it was the biggest priority position we needed to. I would have personally liked someone who's more defensive minded, to cover for Casemiro in case he gets suspended again. And that I think his role, he'd be probably quite versatile. Mount's strength is he can play in a few positions. He's played across like Chelsea's forward midfield line. I think for lesser teams at Old Trafford, he could slot in next to Casemiro, and that and we can build around possession and all that for teams that won't necessarily get tackles and all that. For teams like Liverpool or City, in that particularly when you're away from home to them, I wouldn't necessarily think he would be an automatic starter, or at least next Casemiro, you're going to need someone who's more defensive minded in there. I do think he's improvement on players like Fred and McTominay, and I think the point you mentioned about the pure profit argument for Chelsea is accurate, because if we were to sell McTominay, that would be pure profit for us, for example. And I don't think, and I'm mostly like McTominay, I would say Mount is probably all round more versatile, better player possibly. So I think he does add a bit of depth, and he can come in if Eriksen's not right, or if if Bruno, if you want to give Bruno a rest, that type of player where we can do a good role. So for me, he's a good signing. But I think there's another factor in this, actually, because most of our midfielders are in the 27 to 31 age bracket, I think, aren't they? Like McTominay, Fred, Casemiro, Bruno are all within that age bracket. And I think that's where we're focused on, in that Mount is 24. So he is a player that can play another 5-6 years, in his prime and that. So I think that's another thing why we perhaps need to make the signing, so that we could have like a younger players who is coming into his prime potentially. And for me, that's why I think it's a good signing. But that being said, I'm sure we'll come on to this. It wasn't the biggest priority. We did spend. I didn't make the point last week. If he was going to Liverpool, they'd probably get the deal for 40 million, maybe even less. With 1 year contract. But fair enough. We've got him. Well, it's not had his medical yet, but Ten Hag has really liked him. It's a good signing, I think, and hopefully, it'll improve us going forwards.
So I'm a little bit worried, and I just wanted to ask you guys what you thought in terms of. I don't think it was necessarily a position that we was desperate to strengthen, and I'm a tiny bit worried in the back of my head that this could mean Fernandes is going to play on the wing a little bit more. Do you guys see that as a possibility? I mean, I'm hoping it's not. And if we do see that next season, obviously it's hypothetical, but if we start to see Fernandes push to the wings more to incorporate Mount, do we think that's going to work? Stu?
I don't see that happening, no. Mount comes in, he replaces Eriksen, and Fernandes stays at 10. It'd be a ridiculous thing to do, would be to push Bruno out on the width, because we've got enough players out there that can play wide anyway. Sancho stays.
Sorry, Stu. Can we just have a look at this comment 2 seconds? Because I'm sure we all disagree with this. Maybe I'm wrong, but fancy flicks with no outcome. Didn't he create the most big chances in the Premier League by about 30?
Yeah, he did. Look, funnily enough, I can actually see his point. I understand what he's doing. There are times where players overplay football.
Yeah, do you think he means he sometimes
you're just talking about
the wrong
overplaying.
stuff? Yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily a criticism. I just think it's a way of suggesting that sometimes, and look, I say this all the time to young players, sometimes you just got to get the ball down and knock it 2 yards, because that will get you up the pitch a lot quicker than trying to fancy flick, and then somebody's not on the same wavelength, he's not reading what you're trying to do. And actually, the funny thing about that is if a player doesn't read your pass or doesn't understand what you're trying to do, it makes you as a footballer look pretty poor. And I think that's his point, really.
We've mentioned that before with Donny and Sancho, haven't we? The intelligence levels are a bit different.
Yeah, exactly. And then coming back to where you are with Bruno, we've got our issue now, don't we, with our the way we treat Greenwood is correct, and I fear we should be treating our other right winger in the same breath at the moment, because he's facing similar charges. We haven't heard anything vocally like we did, but I don't think we should be giving him the same airtime as well. And
obviously the person we won't name, we're waiting until we find out what the club is doing. But I know what you're talking about with Anthony. It's accusations there. It's another. It's just another thing that probably Ten Hag didn't need, and the club didn't need at the minute. It's not going well.
We don't need that. So chances are he could well be out of the team, and rightly so. If that's what he's done, he's accused of it. He should be out of the team. We can't get behind him because that'd be hypocrisy. And so I think we should just remove him out of the equation now. So that means Sancho's likely to stay, I would say, in my opinion. And we could probably get good money for him, 45, 50 mil, Sancho at the minute. So Ten Hag's got more of a headache than just income. He's got a headache with two players that he doesn't know what he can and can't do with. And when we all know what he can't do with one, then I think we've got major issues anyway. So Ten Hag should be looking at, the board should be looking at what they are going to do more quickly. I know we put a bid in for the striker, haven't we, Hoyland, today. Apparently that was rejected, which is fair enough. Your first bids are always rejected unless you pay a get-out clause or a buyout clause. So, no, I don't see Bruno out wide. If I do, I like Ten Hag. I think he's brilliant, but I'd have to question his motives on that one.
There's the other factor in for right wing Ahmad as well, which could be an interesting one as well. So I think that I personally think Ten well, he'll certainly take him out on pre-season with him, and if he does well, then he might look at him and think he'd be my backup right winger possibly. So that's another factor we got to bear in mind as well. So then again, he might say go out on loan to another Premier League team or something. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I do agree with. Man, it wasn't a priority position. I think it's one that strengthens depth more than anything. I think he does have qualities. He has had a poor season, but then again, every player at Chelsea had a poor season. So I won't. And plus, when you look at us season before last, Rashford had a bad season. I look at him last season. So I won't personally hold that against him. But for me, yeah, and it shows we're in this because a few teams were interested, and it's encouraging that he did want to. He decided early on that he wants to come to United, which is also encouraging as well. So, and I think we do have a manager in Ten Hag where you can look at and say he's clearly improved some players, given that self-belief that they can improve, and that's perhaps what we've been slightly lacking for a few years. So for me, that's where I think that it shows progress that Mount has chosen also over others, and assessments Ten Hag that he's got his man.
So coming to you, Andy, when obviously match goer, how much are you looking? Because it's one of these signings where I'm trying to look at it as sort of a Rashford season for him last season, because the previous 2 or 3 he played quite well to a decent high standard, and he sort of dropped off last year. How excited are you to see Mount come into the team? And do you think he's going to change the dynamic a lot? We talk about, well, me and Stu talk about Garnacho. I think you mentioned it yourself. He really gets you on the edge of your seat, gets your bum off your seat. I'm hoping that Mount can give him a little bit of service. But as a match goer, how much are you looking forward to see him play at Old Trafford?
Actually, yeah, looking forward to seeing him play at Old Trafford. And John's just mentioned, he had a poor season at Chelsea, but so did everyone else. But you expect Mount to, to get back to his best coming to United, and he's a player that's been favoured by most bosses in his career at Chelsea as well. So I think one thing, as I said earlier, that I don't see Bruno being pushed out to the wide. I think it's going to be Bruno, Mount, and then Casemiro behind them. So, but I think one thing Ten Hag likes about Mount is his versatility as well, and plus his tenacious attitude and high work rate, which Ten Hag demands that high press he demands, which will complement Bruno as well, because he just tirelessly presses and he's dragging the whole team to do the press as well. So let's say he's going to be the one to start ahead of Eriksen, but I think he's going to offer a lot more than Eriksen, because he likes to receive the passes between the lines, and turns quickly and progresses the play with his the ball control and his passing range. But yeah, I'm looking forward to. Now, is it the most exciting signing ever to come to United? Probably not. But then I just remember in Ferguson, the signings he made, you're like, well, some players you're thinking, why has he bought them? And then they've gone on to be. I use the case in point, Ji-Sung Park. He was but such a workhorse and gave excellent service over the years. But just finding those diamonds in the rough, and I think Mount, I think he can go to another level. And I know Ten Hag was I think he did want him at Ajax as well. He was trying to get him over there as well, but obviously Mount didn't want to go, and Chelsea were not entertaining any idea of selling into Ajax either. So I think Ten Hag will be get the very best about him next season. And looking forward to seeing how well he plays for us.
Yeah, me too. I'm so on the fence with it, because I do genuinely think we're overpaid. I don't mean in like a bad way overpaid. I just think
have we overpaid? Because I saw reported bids. We've got to pay about 80 million for him.
Well, that you mentioned.
I know actually it says it's like 40 million. So we sort of hit the middle of it. So, but
Well, they wanted 70, so 55 from 70s in the middle.
But the additional 5 is if we win like the league and the Champions League.
Yeah, I read that. And I mean,
worth it,
you'd pay the 5, wouldn't you? But Stu mentioned it with Højlund. Apparently, this Højlund, I read somewhere 90 million euros, but the bid's only 30, and they've said
they want 45. Apparently,
yeah. So that's nowhere near what was being reported 2 months ago.
I think you probably get him for around about 45, 50 million plus add-ons maybe. But I think around 50 mil, probably similar to Mount actually.
So moving away from the Mount transfer, I mean, I'm glad Ten Hag's been backed with Mount. We're not going to talk about De Gea just yet. We'll leave that to a little bit later because that's obviously a big one at the moment. I wanted to focus on the next signing and what position you guys feel is the biggest position we really start to chase now. So obviously, we've been linked with Onana, we've been linked with Højlund, we've been linked with 58 other players. So, John, who and what position do you think is the most important next coming in?
Well, I've been thinking about this all day, Dan, and I've been laughing about it. It's July the 1st. Pre-season starts next week.
And we haven't got.
We don't know who our first choice keeper is.
No, yeah. It's not a good situation, is it?
It's another staggering bit of melodrama under the Glazers again, isn't it? So for me, it has to be the goalkeeper. De Gea's left as a free agent. And honestly, I don't know what the club is up to at the moment, and that it's just like obviously we got a limited budget and all that. Apparently, Inter would sell for around 550 million mark for Onana, possibly. For me, you have to get that deal done. And all this talk that we'll talk to De Gea, and obviously congratulations to him on his wedding day today, and that. But I just think that we'll give him a bit of a honeymoon and all that, and then we'll come back and discuss it. It's like you got to have a goalkeeper, and Henderson. Yeah, we all know it. That deal should have been done already. Let's be honest, Forest will pay around 15, 20 million for it. You got to get that done. I'll raise money. That's pure profit as well, because we didn't pay transfer fee for him. So why don't you get that deal done? And then you got additional money to go for a goalkeeper. So for me, we have to get Onana in within the next week or so, or whatever keeper we're in for, because we can't wait for De Gea. He's no longer at the club. And obviously, we've all been saying that, striker's a huge priority position. I think that will personally drag on. I think, obviously, Spurs are reluctant around Kane and all that. But, as we mentioned last week, there's a big decision for Kane, and all that. And I think that could drag on to possibly the end of the transfer window, possibly. But I think Højlund is willing to come in. Any competent club will get that done. And also Onana, we got to get those deals done, in my opinion. But for me, it has to be a goalkeeper. We don't know who the first choice is.
Can't argue. You make a very good point. What about you, Andrew? Who do you think, or what position do you think?
It's a tough one. I'm just thinking with De Gea's situation just now. Now he's not officially with the club anymore. Because I was just hoping, some announcement was going to be made before he was due. His contract was up. I would have said a striker. That's the next, most important, even before Mason Mount came in as well. I'm just thinking that was something we definitely needed. A lot of striker last season, and we was relying a lot on Marcus Rashford as well. And talking to Marcus Rashford, his contract is due to end the end of next season as well. So that's something we've got to wrap up and get him to sign a new deal as well. So we wouldn't want to lose him either. So I'm sick in striker or goalkeeper. They're both equally as important. We need to get both ends of the pitch sorted pretty quick as well. So I know De Gea's, I think he's getting married this weekend, so I'd have just left him alone and just said, look, once you've got that all sorted, we'll come back to the table and we'll talk some more. And if we can come to an agreement, we'll sign you again. If not, it's we wish you well and say goodbye to him. But Yeah, and striker-wise, so we've been linked with many different strikers, but we do need like a 25, 30 goal a season striker alongside Marcus Rashford as well. Because I'm just thinking with like Martial at the minute, he blows so hot and cold. I'm just like, are we ever going to see the very best of him? We've seen glimpses, but I don't know how much, let's say, patience we can keep with him. I know it's one of those, but yeah, I think goalkeeping wise, so we've been linked with like Anana. He seems like to be the favourite coming out. I think there's Costa as well, but we need. I think there's Brentford's David Raya as well. He was like touted a while back as well, and he's already played in the Premier League, so he knows the league inside out as well. So, and I think he was also the Premier League's in the top for the progressive passing distance in this season, and so that distribution as well, which sometimes De Gea lacked during the season, and prone to make a few mistakes. But I don't know. I'd say come the start of the new season in 6 weeks' time, well, there'll be 11 out on the pitch, so we'll see who's in goal and who's up top as well.
6 weeks seems absolutely mental, though, doesn't it? With what we need to go out and what we need to come in, 6 weeks seems incredibly tight.
It could be Tom Heaton in goal. And to be fair, Tom Heaton's not that bad of a goalkeeper.
What I wanted to ask about Tom Heaton actually, while he's come up, the rumor is that he's been blocked from going to Luton. Do you think that's a bit harsh, or do you think it's understandable because of the current situation?
It's probably because of the current situation. And Dean Henderson's, I think he's come back and he's still injured. So it's like we've got no other goalkeeper, unless we call up one of the youth goalkeepers for the pre-season games. But I just think Tommy, I remember his time from like Burnley and Villa and the same. I remember a few times when we played against him and the saves he made was like it stopped us from score. I remember one game against Burnley many years ago. We had that many shots at him. I think he ended up breaking his arm in one, or his arm in making one save against us. But from a couple of years ago in some of the pre-season friendlies, he played really well. And he was like, I don't think De Gea is known for like, what's I going to say, to use the word shouting at the players, but I could just hear him on the pitch all the time, instructing the players, whereas De Gea is probably vocal. That was the word I was looking for. And Ian's a bit reminds me like Schmeichel, just like have a good, be more vocal at the players. But say it could be Ian starting as number one. Who knows? It's Man United. We'll see who we sign or who we don't.
I was looking because I would say, like, you can agree, disagree. I would say there's about 14 players that really should be getting moved on. And even if we move 14 on, let's say, it's probably only going to cause a hole of about 3 in the first team squad, which is mental when you think of, obviously, you've got Tellez and all them people coming back, Eric Bailly. It's just 6 weeks to do all this and a takeover, and it just doesn't seem logical at all. I got asked a question today, and I'm going to, while it's fresh in my memory, I'm going to ask you. So someone said to me, would you take Wilfried Zaha on a free this summer? Stu?
No.
Why?
No. He's obviously decent, isn't he? But I mean, at Palace, you'll stand up in your shine, won't you? But he wouldn't shine at United. Would have issues with him, pretty much Sancho-esque, I'm afraid. But going on to the bigger picture for us is our squad balance has been so unbalanced for 10 years. And manager after manager after manager has been unsuccessful cleansing the Ross that's within our squad, really, and the people that are just there for money. And that's our big issue. And so we've got 6 weeks to sort out a big mess. It just shows you how bad the club is that we're allowing De Gea to now be out of contract. He's no longer a Manchester United footballer. As of today, he gets no paycheck next month. For the first time in 11 years at Old Trafford, he's not getting a paycheck. And we're first. I think we're back. Actually, some of the squad's back Monday. Some of the squad is actually back Monday to start pre-season training. We got our first friendly, haven't we? Mid-July, 14th, 15th, 16th of July, something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So he's got
Can't
2 weeks. He's got
Leeds in 11 days.
11 days, yeah. So he's got 2
So
weeks.
that's what I made the point. You've got to get a goalkeeper in now.
Yeah, he's got, you know, and this is the problem with it. Irrespective of the takeover, that's an irrelevance. The business has still got to continue. It's still got to carry on. The business of football doesn't stop because we've got imbeciles who can't decide what to do in Florida. The business of football has to continue. Otherwise, I mean, if I'm Ten Hag, literally, I'm fucking taking a fucking mortar missile and blowing the fuckers up in Florida because they're hamstringing. The whole club is hamstringing.
I'd go further. If I was in my turn on Carrington, I'd look to strangle Mercer.
I strangle them all because he's
just
hamstringing our plans for this season. Completely hamstrung yet again. The imbecilic way that our club is run. Forget the Muppets in Florida. The imbecilic way that our club is run at trying to do transfers, trying to sell fucking players, trying to do this, trying to do that. They're the biggest fucking joke on the planet. I could go in and do a better fucking job than these idiots. And I know nothing about the business of transfers. This is the really frustrating thing. And as John says, if look at Daniel Levy, right? Yeah. What did Leicester want for Maddison? 70 million or something like that. He puts a bid in of 30 and he gets him for 50. No fucking about. Let's meet halfway. Blah 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 blah. We just can't seem to do anything.
You got to remember as well. They did try. Did they offer 50 million for Barnes and Madison as well at some point?
At some point, yeah.
Yeah. To really drive the price down.
How much did they get for Madison?
They got 40, 45 or something.
45, I think.
They just got relegated.
Yeah,
might be 50 with add-ons.
He's a good player, Madison. I wouldn't take him myself. But
it's the team that got relegated.
Yeah, no, but you know, when you look at Madison's price and Mount's price, you know, they're similar players. Mount is
Madison had a lot longer on his contract as well, didn't he?
Yeah, Madison isn't a better player. Than Madison. They're a similar stature in terms of player. But this is our issue. Our issue is neglect and mismanagement for the last 10 years. Ten Hag really shouldn't be coming into July the 1st with actually Mason Mount's not officially signed yet, has he? So he hasn't had his medical. No, as far as I know. So, you know, because
I think
he hasn't.
Yeah, it's Monday.
Monday the medical.
Yeah, Monday.
And the terms.
But again, this shows the mentality of a footballer. We did the deal Friday. Get on a fucking plane, get to fucking Manchester by Saturday morning and get your medical done.
Is that what Liverpool done with that player from Leipzig? Agreed the deal yesterday, having his medical today.
Yeah, they got him done. But this is Mount. He should be on the fucking plane. He should have got it done. So listen, Gaffer, can have a couple of days off to get my holiday sorted and I'll be back midweek or something like that. Or, sorry, love, you stay on holiday. I've got work to do. This is the problem.
Mount he wasn't even in the England squad, so he should have already been on holiday.
He should have been fucking signed. The deal was done Friday. He should have been fucking signed.
Not to argue in favour of the people running the club, but I think they're probably a little bit more relaxed with Mount over the Liverpool one because Liverpool activated his release clause and then wanted it done because of the release clause. Not many people knew that he had a release clause of 60 million.
You're talking about the modern footballer here. What about him saying, "Oh, let's get me medical done.
Yeah, let me get it done.
Let's get that fucking sorted." And you know what? I'm going to turn up Monday for pre-season.
Yeah. So to move it on slightly and come to Andy, why? Obviously, we're talking about the club's issues in terms of we've spoke about it loads of like the players Solskjaer wanted, he never got. They refused to pay small budgets for players that now they're going to offer 70 million for. What do you think needs to change? And obviously, not just the Glazers, but in your eyes, what do you think needs to change in that area above Ten Hag to make this go a bit smoother? And how do you think we can? I don't know what the word is, but how do you think we can get back the fact that we've overpaid players, we give too long contracts, because some of the players we're talking about moving on here, the 10 to 14 of them, are going to be impossible to move on because of them contracts.
It's such a difficult one. It's just like, I just feel like United sometimes. I think certain people above Ten Hag are probably doing too many roles, and they should be given defined roles, saying this is your area, you deal with that, and not trying to be, doing everything across the board. So I think there just needs to be. We're getting that structure, but I'm just thinking, whenever this takeover happens, these new owners could come in and just rip it up and go, well, we're bringing in our own people. I just think when or if we get new owners, to just come in and just leave it for you and just see how it all works, and then deciding how the structure will work. But I think it's just getting the right people in the right positions, in terms of like transfers, our youth set up, how the training's going. It's a difficult one. I just think Ten Hag needs all the support he gets. And I think he's probably given a list of players he needs. I think Mourinho was in charge. I think he had like his A list and his B list. If I can't get my A list, I will go with the B list. If you can get, but you always want to attract in like the A list players, not the B list players. Unless those A list players, the clubs don't want to sell, or the players not interested in coming to us. Well, if that's the case, then you don't want to come to us. Stay where you are, go somewhere else. But it's one of those. And I just think going forward, the club's structure's got to get better, but that'll only come with time. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, it is a tough one. It's just the club above Ten Hag is such a mess. Do you know, the more we go into this summer and the more we see what's happening now, it was such a miracle last season in terms of what they achieved.
I'm just thinking on those players we've got to sell. It's only started the show and we're saying about midfield, and I just realised we've still got Donny van der Beek, and I completely forgot about him. I thought, oh, he's still a United player. I was thinking, what do we do with him? I don't know, Ten Hag's going to give him another chance, or it's like there's so many issues. And like I say, Ten Hag's made good progress in his first season, but there's still a lot to do. And I say you can't do everything in one season. So it's like I say, we have to look at it like a project. And I hate to mention our rivals Liverpool, but that's what Jurgen Klopp did. He looked at it as a project. Like, I can't do everything in one season. I think something I saw of his. He said, "Yeah, I knew what I needed to do from the start, but there's things I learned along the way, and then what I needed to change as well." So I think that's what Ten Hag's doing as well. Is things he could change straight away, and there's things he's learned in his first season that is going to take a bit more time to change.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with that, because I think towards the end of the season, some of the masks that he had up for certain players started to slip a little bit, because I think he was getting to a point where he knew he could move them on or they would leave. So we'll move the show on, and we'll move on to obviously the bigger talk. Well, probably the strangest talking point of the week, which is obviously David De Gea. We've touched on it. He's officially out of contract now. He's a free agent technically, which is weird. The question I had at the foremost of my mind is to do with the whole situation. Now, I've seen quite a lot of stuff on Twitter and over the week of disrespect towards De Gea. Is this new with the club, or have we seen this happen with older players and it's being blown up a little bit because Twitter's around? We'll start with Stu on that one.
Look, it's time De Gea moved on. There's no two ways about it. Do you believe that a contract was put on the place and then removed? I don't know. I think it's all bullshit, really. I think De Gea wasn't ready to sign a contract. Was looking to see what his options were, to see whether Saudi Arabia would come calling, see whether he could go into Spain, see whether he needed to stay. He's 32, isn't he? 33, something along those lines. So he's got decisions to make about where he plays his football the next 3 to 5 years. He doesn't necessarily need the money. We all know that. $375 a week. what's it to him if he goes and gets 400 grand a week in Saudi Arabia? It's neither in or there to him. He's amassed a huge bank account. So for him, it must be all about playing football. So I tend not to listen to noises that you see on Twitter. It's all bollocks. I mean, crikey. Somebody's been on TikTok and Twitter saying that we're going to sign the contract today for the takeover, etc. The last 6 weeks. He's going to be right one day, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's going to be right one day, and people just speculate all the time about what's going on with De Gea. Look, he's been a great goalkeeper for us, apart from the last 2 to 3 years where he's been a weak goalkeeper for us. And whether people agree with me or disagree with me, it doesn't really matter. It's all about football. But his contract's up. He's now a free agent. If I was him, I wouldn't want to walk through the doors of the club anyway. If they hadn't offered me a contract, if they had offered him a contract and we did renew it, he's not going to want to walk through the door again. So, either way, I think De Gea's gone. I'll be amazed if he comes back because right now, if we are going to beg him to come back, he's going to say, fine, 375 a week then, fellas. That's all. He's not going to take 200 grand a week now. The ball is in his court right now. It's up to him what he does. Unless he did sign a contract and it's all bollocks that's out in the Twitter sphere and he's just gone now and having his wedding, etc., and he comes back for pre-season training as if fuck all had happened. Nobody really knows. But again, it's a circus and the imbecilic nature that our so-called hierarchy run the club. So for me, I think we should move him on. Did we get Onana? I quite like him. I prefer the AC Milan keeper, to be brutally honest with you. I think he's a better all-round goalkeeper. I know people rave about Costa. He's okay, but I've not seen enough of him. Let's go and get Emi Martinez out of Villa. Yes, he's a bit of a tosser. He really is a tit. And I don't like players like him, but he can keep goal, which is what it's all about. And if Ten Hag is wanting a ball-playing goalkeeper, which, again, you don't need a ball-playing goalkeeper in football, by the way. Everybody's got this fixation on a ball-playing goalkeeper for some reason. Oh, you can't win the league without a ball-playing goalkeeper. Fucking seriously? Really? Get a life. A goalkeeper's there to save shots, keep the ball out the back of the net. It's up to the players, the outfield players, to get you up into attacking areas and make sure then you've got a decent finisher who can finish the goals, not your goalkeeper's remit at all. It just bugs me, all this fucking modernism in football. Football hasn't changed. It doesn't change. So
no, it doesn't change. I think the reason people fall into the trap of you need a ball-playing goalkeeper is because they've seen Man City win the league for so many years. Liverpool did it with a ball-playing goalkeeper. Arsenal are trying to do it with a ball-playing goalkeeper. It's just sort of the perception of the game, isn't it, at the moment?
How many goals did Alisson score for Liverpool? How many goals has
he got an assist and he got a goal the other year? Scored a header.
Yeah, one goal. One goal. Goalkeepers don't score goals. Goalkeepers don't create hardly anything. They don't. All they do, they pass it to a fucking fullback. Wow, big deal. Hold the back press. Goalkeeper passes to fullback and they score. Wow, big deal. Football isn't about all this FIFA fucking. It drives me up the wall. It drives me so much up the wall. It's just rubbish. It means nothing. It's about the player's ability to progress the football, not the goalkeeper's ability. So I just want somebody who can come in and get us 12 points a season like Schmeichel used to, like Edison does. For all this ball playing nonsense, he wins City a good 9 points a season. Alisson wins Liverpool a good 9 points a season. Martinez wins Villa a good 9 points per season. Schmeichel used to win us 12 to 15 points a season just purely on saves. That's what you need.
David De Gea used to win us 15 points a season, yeah.
That's what it's all about. That's your first and foremost. Oh, I'm going to buy you because you can kick a ball. Piss off. Honestly, go somewhere else. I'm not interested. What can you do? Can you come and claim a cross? Can you get down to your right? Can you get down to your left? Can you save with your feet? Can you command your box? Can you sweep to an extent? That's what I'm looking for. Not whether you can pass 2 yards to fucking right back.
I think passing 2 yards to your right back should be a given. To be honest,
Of course it should.
you're a footballer.
This is
Yeah.
what this is what I'm
For
trying to say.
me,
All this
you
ball
need.
playing nonsense.
It's more about
nonsense.
being a sweeper. We need a goalkeeper that can allow his defenders to go higher and react to that situation if the ball comes over, more so than a goalkeeper that can pass 10
It's all
yards.
about yardage, as Johnny Kay will tell you, and Andrew will tell you. I babble on about it all the time. It's all about yardage between your centre half and your goalkeeper. The end.
I think it's about ultimately I agree. It's down to goalkeeper's job is stop the ball going in the net ultimately. And but you should be able to pass the ball and ball it out like Schmeichel used to be able to. Right, okay, there were some keepers that can set up attacks, but Alisson's prime example. If it's like he collects the ball, he's firing it straight down the pitch to send Salah through. The number of goals Liverpool scored that route is remarkable. But I do think that I've always said with De Gea, it's commanding. He's never been a great commander of his area, in my opinion. I think he's been arguably the best shot stopper I've ever seen at times, particularly during his prime in the mid-noughties and that. But in terms of commanding your area, I mean, Schmeichel with his butterfly jump that he used to do and all that. Van der Sar, it was like the unfortunate thing with Van der Sar when we had him, he was a slightly past his prime, signing in his third, so he should have replaced Michael. But the way it was his positioning, he knew what to do with it. It's like the players understood his role. And for me, that's what a keeper needs to do. He doesn't need to act crazy and all. Constantly looking to play, ridiculous balls and all that. I'm all for keepers passing the ball out and all that, but you have a time to play it short. There's time to go long, and I think that you want a goalkeeper whose distribution is good, but ultimately stops the ball going in the net and takes pressure off the defence when you're under the caution, particularly defending corners.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with what you're saying, both of you. I can see the perception that people talk about with playing from the back because of the goalkeepers we've named. But when you look, I mean, obviously I did a show on David De Gea a while ago, and I spent nearly 2 days looking at stats of goalkeepers. And once you start to really dig into the background of these goalkeepers that are so-called playing from the back, it's not that only thing that they're doing. They're good at claiming, they're good at shot stopping, they're good at sweeper keeping. It's not just they can pass. They've got a wide range of stuff.
Well, let me just. There's a guy in the comments, CMCG, saying,
I've ignored that.
No, don't ignore it. No. But he doesn't know anything about football. Because
we have to. We the point I'm making is we have to keep it respectful if you're going to try and get your point across.
No, I don't care about that. He can say what he likes. The point is he doesn't get football in general, because if you look back at the 60s, Johnny, what did Alex Stepney do when there was no 12 steps? He used to roll the fucking ball out the fucking 20 out of his box, and then either knock it short. That's a ball playing goalkeeper. It's been going for fucking years.
Can I just say it?
Guardiola, De Zerbi, they didn't fucking invent that.
I'll just use an example, if I may, Stu. Like, for example, Sir Matt Busby. He's
that was a crude example. What I just said about Stepney.
Yeah, and Sir Matt Busby played for Man City during his career. Who was the goalkeeper? It was Frank Swift, and he used to command his head. He could capture a ball with one hand. All that. And he died at Munich. And then the other keeper associated with Munich, Harry Gregg, the reason Busby signed him is because he could command his area, catch the ball with one hand, and send it on the attack.
What did Pat Jennings used to do? He used to do fucking that, Pat Jennings.
Exactly.
Then he'd walk 12 steps and then fucking launch it. What I'm trying to say to you is, if go and watch your fucking history about football. Don't be telling me that Pep Guardiola and De Zerbi and fucking whoever else, suddenly miraculously introduced a ball-playing goalkeeper. Go and watch it in the 60s, the 50s. That's ball-playing goalkeepers is nothing new. Nothing new.
So we've we've been rattled a bit here, boys. So we'll move on to Andy.
It's all about my point about modernism. And that
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean.
It's
It's
modernism and fucking football.
People seem to think that football's drastically changed over the years, and it hasn't all that much. Except you can't kick people as much these days as you used to be able to.
And players are generally fitter as well. You know, you can't. And I think football has evolved. Tactics have evolved. Formations have evolved. But Stu's point is accurate. The general purpose of how you play football will remain much the same, pretty much. You know.
So we'll move on the conversation slightly and give Andrew a chance to talk. How would you assess De Gea's contribution to United over the years? From obviously, in all of this, we're forgetting that he's played for us for 12 years. He's been quality for plenty of those years as well. So how would you assess his time at the club and his contributions to the club?
I was going to say he's been a real servant to the club. 12 years he's been at our club, and I say player of the year, was it four or five times? So there's times he's been one of the best players at the club, and there's been some years where moments haven't gone well for him. He's lost a bit of form, even confidence too. But he has served our club remarkably well, and I think the situation with his contract, I think one thing that's probably lacking from United is communication. Just like United have done this before with players, and I think Rio Ferdinand said this week about the situation. Said all big players left United feeling like they've not been treated well, but no one has the divine right to leave the club on their own terms. But for those players that that have served a long time at the club, you want them to leave on good terms. And De Gea's grown to love Man United, and I think he wants to stay for many more years. But whether that's the case, I don't think unless we sign another goalkeeper like Annan or someone else, I think that's when we'll go back to De Gea. But it's just De Gea's. I think I said it on the show maybe a couple of weeks ago. I just think maybe it's just coming to a natural end with De Gea and United. So, but I just think we could give him that bit more respect for what he's done. He's like, if he doesn't sign another contract with us, he's like the last player to go out at United that won the Premier League, 10 years ago. So we've got to give him credit. And
is it Fergie's last signing as well?
Who?
If De Gea leaves, is that it?
No, it was Wilfried Zaha, wasn't it?
No, I don't mean last signing. I mean the last Fergie player. Yeah.
Well, it's ironic because Jones and De Gea both left now. They were the last two remaining players that won the league with us.
Yeah.
I was going to say, in the times he's like saved us point, gained us points as well, and just like I know, well, his penalty record or saving penalties has not been that great. Well, I did get to see him. Was it the last game of the season, Fulham, where he saved? I thought I was sitting there in the stands. I thought when we conceded that penalty, it was like De Gea's not going to save this. I just thought Fulham are going to score. I was like, to my surprise, De Gea saved it. I was like, bloody hell, it's been how long since he's saved a penalty? And I was like,
he saved a couple the year before, because he saved Noble's penalty.
It's very rare De Gea saves
a penalty. Yeah, I know. It's ironic, wasn't he the first? Because Leighton Baines was a very good penalty taker. I think De Gea was the first keeper to save a penalty from him in 2014 at the East Stand.
Was it 2015, 16?
Yeah,
I think early De Gea was decent at saving penalties, in fairness to him, but for some reason he got worse at it.
Yeah. Look, there's no debating De Gea has been a player and a servant for the club. Maybe now it's just time he moves on. I mean, he splits the fan base right down the middle. Goalkeeping splits the fan base right down the middle. Jarvis Cocker, a really good friend of mine, talks about, and he always speaks about his way that he feels a goalkeeper should be there to start the attacks, because it builds confidence. But Jarvis knows I'm old school. I'm old school, and I've seen goalkeepers move the ball out, from the back for years and years and years. It's just a different way, I guess, of doing it. And, that's the beauty of football, isn't it? And the guy did come back actually and quantify his comments, and he, that's his view, and I understand what he's saying.
This is what he said.
Yeah, and he's right. I think he's right in this particular period.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of fans would agree. This is the reason that it's probably time for him to go.
Yeah, and so that's the point I do agree with. He's absolutely right. But my point was that it's nothing new. And when you talk about modernism in football, about inverted fullbacks, teams have done that for years, since the 50s. And the reason they've done it is because you can only do so much on a football pitch because of the dimensions. You can't reinvent the wheel.
It's why they've been playing in triangles for 50 years. Yeah.
There's just a new way of being able to do it. Players actually, real top quality, the best footballers on the planet are able to circumvent it on the pitch because they can see what's happening in 3 dimensions. And this is why Ronaldo became so good. This is why Van Nistelrooy was such brilliant in the box. That's why Beckham knew where to deliver it to, because they got this, this way of being able to view the pitch through a 3-dimensional kind of vision. And that's what I like about football. But as I say, everybody's got a view. Not my lads, he's 22. Plays FIFA with his mates, and they're coming out with certain things, new phrases, but the new phrases are the same as old phrases, just
call something different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know one of you has got a question about De Gea, so because incredibly we've been on for 56 minutes, which is madness. So I don't know who it is because I can't remember who Barry said he was. So who had the question about De Gea? Oh, is it you, John? Oh, so go on then, shoot away, and then we'll try and answer the best we can.
It's quite simple. In your view, is De Gea a United legend?
I mean, who wants to go first? Because I don't.
I'll just take this quickly. I don't think there's any legends in football, personally. That's just me. I think I
feel like we've got a world-class sort of thing coming.
I think he's been a great player, but I think their players that play for the club are brilliant. But I've never been one for a legend. Yeah, exactly the same. If I came across as aggressive, pal, I didn't mean to. I think your opinion was right. Maybe I misread it wrong, pal. So no problem. And that's just me. I'm not right or I'm not wrong. People use legends. Sorry, John, I'm not having a pop here. In the same bracket as world class, I don't agree with world class. It's just me as a person. But great servant.
There are certain players who you put above everybody else, though. Would you
100%,
say?
Yeah, 100%. Do you get giddy? Would I get giddy meeting somebody? No, because I work in an area where I meet people on a regular basis that are just people. But there are certain areas like, Charlton, Beston Law, you'd have to put them above De Gea on a scale of what they mean to the club, I guess. So that's how I would. I'm
going to let you go first, Andrew, because I've held a comment back here that I think is absolutely bang on for this topic.
I'm just thinking, do I put him as a let? So I'm just thinking, if I was ranking goalkeepers, I would put Schmeichel and Van der Sar above De Gea, and I'm just like, I consider Schmeichel and Van der Sar legends, and I'm like, maybe.
Michael, I put above.
Yeah, Van der Sar, As much as I'm like,
absolutely. But do you know, sorry, Andrew, but Gary Bailey for me when I was growing up, when I was 7 and 8 years old, Gary Bailey was wow. He was my first ever autograph, by the way, Gary Bailey. But there you go. Sorry, John. Andrew.
I don't know whether to say maybe then 5 or 10 years down the line when De Gea's retired and we look back on his career, we're like, oh yeah, he was a United legend, and like I say, he's been a real servant to the club. And I just think, in terms of my lifetime, the keepers I've seen at United, Schmeichel, Van der Sar, and De Gea are my top 3. Schmeichel will be at the top, but I just think in time De Gea will go down as a legend of the club. So what he's won and what he's done for the club as well. So in time he will be.
Right. Okay. So I think this comment here is perfect for this discussion. I think the word servant is better than legend for certain players, and there's no doubt in my mind that 12 years at the club, the most clean sheets. Did Box say he's 7th in all-time appearances as well?
He's
So
made over 500 appearances.
yeah, he's definitely right.
Right, he's had the most clean sheets.
Yeah, most clean sheets.
I think Stepney had more appearances, did he?
De Gea, I think De Gea's 7th on the all-time list, probably.
But in terms of like goalkeepers, is Stepney higher or lower?
I don't know. I presume De Gea must be one of them.
I'll look it up.
Google, start man. So yeah, I think he's right up there. I think you can argue that he is a legend and he will be a legend when he retires. But I think the word servant is perfect for De Gea. I think he's been a hell of a servant, and I would say Box put something like from 2012 to 2018, he was fantastic for us, and he was. It's only the last few seasons that it's gone a bit south.
Yeah.
Oh,
So to interrupt, yeah, De Gea broke the appearance record of Alex Stepney in May.
So, oh wow! Okay.
Yeah.
So is De Gea not our longest ever serving goalkeeper in the club's history?
Well, Stepney was 65, 67, 8. So I think it's between him and Stepney, I think.
Yeah.
I'll look at the years Stepney was.
I see all the keyboards going to find this information.
Yeah,
I think
Stepney was also here for 12 years. 78. So yeah, him and De Gea joined.
Wow. Right. We're ticking on for time. So who wants to go next with a question?
I think I've covered mine. I think I've covered mine. Mine was about modernism.
Oh, we've covered that earlier on.
I think my rant has probably made mine moot. So
go on then, Andy.
Down to me that say I wanted to look at the the youth. So as well, who do you think more? Well, you might think will maybe step up into the first team next season. Obviously, last season it was Garnacho, and just thinking, is there any particular player you might have seen from the youth that might make their step up into the first team at all this season?
From the academy?
Yeah,
I think
any of you might have seen.
I think that the one that has been around there hasn't had many opportunities, maybe. So I think he's possibly one where I don't think he'll play regularly, but I think he might even go on loan, possibly. But I think possibly if he has a good pre-season, I'm sure he'll go on pre-season, and I'm sure he'll get his opportunity there. But for me, I think he might be one where if he does stay and doesn't go on loan, you might see him maybe start League Cup games or something, and maybe come on as a sub in a Premier League game from time to time, maybe. So I think possibly he might probably be the next in line, maybe, but depends whether he goes on loan.
And Andrew will correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think they like the young keeper Kovac. Is it Kovac?
Kovar.
Kovar.
Yeah,
the one that's just been at Sparta Prague.
Yeah, I think they rate him quite. Yeah, I think they rate him quite highly, don't they?
Very good with his feet, Stu.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Yeah, and I'm just wondering whether he might get a shot because I know he's rated very, very, very highly as a good all-round goalkeeper. But yeah, supposedly very good with his feet. So like Kovar it is, isn't it?
It's Kovar, yeah.
Yeah. So I think he might get a chance. Maybe,
I think if we were to sign him, keep it like Onana, let's say, like when you look at the FA Cup final, when City paid, what was his name now?
That kid.
Yeah, he looks good on the ball and all that.
Ortega, yeah.
Ortega. So the one you mentioned, she might be a decent backup, maybe. Possibly, having played for Shakhtar Donetsk. And so he might be a good option in like cups and that, possibly, with if it is Onana or whoever, being the main goalkeeper. So, yeah, it could be an interesting one. I suppose you got Tom Eaton as well, though, haven't you?
Yeah, I just, I've read and I've seen him play a couple of times, and he looks decent for me. And but I've read a couple of articles about him, and they do rate him quite highly. And there's a couple of people I know in the sports world, journalism wise, which is what I work in, also rate him quite highly as well. So I think he might get the nod actually at some point. I think he might. You've got
Goalkeeper.
You've got to dip your toe in the water with a keeper, haven't you? So I think he might do it.
I'm so on. I don't know with this one because I don't think he's going to give him. I was very critical of Ten Hag last season for this in terms of youth players and rotating the squad. I can see why people would say Kobe Mino, but then at the same time, can't see him getting that much game time. I think he's going to make him earn it and bed him in. Somebody said that Alvaro Fernandez. I can't, again, just with the fact we've got Shaw and
Preston, didn't he?
Yeah, he did all right, Preston, yeah. So we've got is it the Norwegian lad as well? I always forget his name. Is it Hansen?
Yes.
Isaac Hansen. He looks half decent, and he gave him a go last pre-season. I think he played or went. So he looks all right. I just hope, more so than picking any player in particular, that he bloods some youngsters next season and he gives a little bit more rotation to the squad. I want him to see him trust his squad next season a lot more than this season. And this, as I said it a few times, and this is where, for me, to go back to Mount, this is where Mount comes in. He might not necessarily be an absolute shining superstar of a signing, but he could be absolutely perfect for what Ten Hag's looking to do, which is just add reliability, no bells and whistles, but a player that comes on and does the job. So it'll be an interesting one going forward. Incredibly, we've been on for 1 hour and 6 minutes, which I don't feel like it's been that long.
Yes,
it's gotten pretty rapid. We've got some mentions in here for some players. We've got Mateo Major, academy striker, could get a chance next season. Long-term injury.
Yeah,
this is the guy I was talking about, Isaac Hansen, the Norwegian Luka Modric. I've lost all faith now. He said that.
That's the one you're on about. Yeah, Jarvis knows his stuff when it comes to that.
Charlie Savage is back from Forest Green, isn't he?
Back from Forest Green.
Yeah. So
I think Sharon McNeil, he went to Newport County, wasn't it?
Yeah, he did on loan.
Yeah,
Charlie McNeil did. Yeah. And then somebody mentioned there was one up here that I've lost. It's gone forever. It was Sales, and I just wanted to touch on that before we finish this one. It was Box. He's on fire tonight. I can see Alanga, Hannibal, Williams being offloaded, similar to Iqbal, Lard, and Garner, which I think is probably right, to be honest. I wouldn't be shocked if they all don't get moved on at some point. What I wanted to touch on in these is, what did you all make of the Iqbal and Lard deals? It sounds like we've got quite a substantial sell-on clause in both the deals.
Well, I'll be quick on that because my opinion is very simple, as you probably would have guessed. They've got no residual sales value, have they? There's no real value to them right now as footballers. That's why £1 million, 850 grand, is the price point. But the key element to it is the sell-on value or the buyback clause. If we get a substantial amount sell-on value and they don't develop, because I'm not so sure Iqbal would have developed as quickly as Ten Hag wants. And the same with, I liked Ethan Laird, by the way, and Andrew knows this. I liked Ethan Laird, but I think it's a good move for these kids. I think these kids can't afford to sit around any longer in football. When I was growing up, you didn't see a 16-year-old, 17-year-old Hardy play. Norman Whiteside, was a bit of an enigma, really. You never saw that. You had to be an experienced 25, 26-year-old footballer. Nowadays, if you're breaking into the first team at 25, 26, what have you been doing since you're 18 years old? So I think that's a really difficult thing to do. So I think it's the right move for Iqbal and the right move for Laird. And there is no value to them at the minute, which is why we're selling them for a small amount of money. The lads, the guys are right, by the way, in the comments, and they are going to come back with, but Liverpool would have sold him for 10 million. Chelsea would have said, yes, they would have. There's absolutely no two ways about it. But maybe we've really, really loaded up the sell-on clause and made the buyback clause kind of something that we can swallow. So it could actually be a really good bit of business 5 years down the line.
I think there's an element to that as well, that we've got to sort of fight to get back to the table with getting big fees. So we've got to be smarter and show a bit more.
I'm wondering if whether there's maybe it's orchestrated by Tenor, whether there's a slight change of policy in that regard, which might be. We don't usually tend to sell these things, and I think maybe it's part of the way I look at it. I know we've sold the pitch, but it affects a bit like a long-term loan in regards to if a club offers a certain amount of money, we get
first refusal.
And then if we think, right, but they're not developed properly or developed right to have them back, we'll earn 40% anyway. So I'm looking at it and thinking, is it a bit like effectively a long-term loan deal? That's the way I look at it, possibly. And I think if we are going to go down this line, it might be profitable for us, but it's not really something we have done before. So, it might happen on the odd occasion. I think it may be down to maybe Ten Hag or someone looking at them thinking like, well, they're not getting minutes here. I don't think they're ready for him. Utrecht is where he was a manager previously. Well, he worked at the club, didn't he? So, so he probably thought, right, well, they'll develop him possibly in a way where if he does develop, we might have him back. If not, then we'll get some money in return. So I'm wondering whether long term this might be the start of something where we look and think, actually, this is a sign of maybe things are changing a little bit. So on, and like I say, it's limited money, but it's also because they're academy products. So you mentioned FFP and pure profit. Like I know it's only $1 million or whatever, but it's still goes books, doesn't it? So I think it's encouraging to see, I would say.
Yeah. All right, then go on then, Andrew. We didn't ask you. Who would you like to see break through next season?
I think John meant Kobe, man. I think he might be the next one to break through. I remember the FA Youth Cup final when we played Forest. Garnacho was on fire, but mainly...
Is that when we scored the offside goal?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
Mainly was brilliant as well. And I think last season he made a good number of first team match day squads. Even I think he did get 97
Charlton, was it?
Yeah, Charlton. I think looking at the stats, he made 97 minutes across all competitions last season for the first team, and obviously he was with the under-23s as well. And I think his ascent into the first team pushed Iqbal's position in the team further down. So I don't think Iqbal was going to get any closer to the first team, so I can understand why he's decided to move on now. And I think with Mainu, I think he's an all-action midfielder, and he can operate as a defensive midfielder or as a trio, in a 4-3-3 as well, which could help next season if that's the way we're going to go. Because we'll have Mount, Casemiro, and Fernandes as well, so he could be one of those options in the rotation as well. But I think I know Ten Hag rates him highly, and as evidenced by including matchday squads last season as well. So if he makes his mark in pre-season, he could explode next season, become a regular like Garnacho as well. So, but I think he could be the one. Be interested to see what happens to Hannibal as well. He did have a good loan spell at Birmingham as well. So it's what Ten Hag makes of him, and where another loan's on the question, or he goes as well. So it's like Stu said about Ethan Laird. It was sad to see him go as well, because I thought he was one for the future. Yeah. And like last season, I think he was on loan at QPR. He started really well, but then I think QPR sacked their manager, and then he struggled. So I don't think the new manager came in at QPR, wasn't playing as much, and I think he lost a bit of direction as well. And as I say, that age he wants to be playing all the time. And I don't think he was going to get that at United, and I don't want to see our youth go to waste. Those that break through, great, but those that don't make it, I want them to go to another club and have a good career. And you never say, maybe one day they'll come back to us, or maybe not. But I say I wouldn't want to deny one of the youth players, a career. To say go and play as much as you can. I remember Fergie saying that once: play as much as you can, because a football career can be very short or very long, depending how it goes.
Well, I mean, incredibly, we've been going for an hour and 15 minutes, so we'll call it quits there. Although, I mean, I could talk about United all night, to be honest. Obviously, fingers crossed Barry will be back next week. Hopefully, I've not done too bad of a job of giving it a whirl for him. It's been good to have the same faces on again, to be honest. It's always a good conversation with you guys on here. And it was nice to have a bit of a debate this time, wasn't it? That was exciting. That was got the blood pressure up a little bit. I'm not shocked still. Right, all right then. Well, it's been nice chatting to everybody. Thanks for all joining in, and we will see you on next week's show.
See you guys.